and thanks for joining me again today. We are working on Laravel-erp again. If you're not sure what ERP stands for, then pay attention. We'll talk about it in this stream. It stands for Enterprise Resource Planning. It is a type of application which enterprise businesses use to kind of manage resources within their business, whether that be staff, orders, holiday, HR stuff, client engagement, ordering from suppliers, anything like that, basically. And hello, wife. Thanks for commenting straight away. And Haz, hey, buddy, hope you're doing okay. Haz has had a little bit of burnout recently. He was up till 4 a.m. working on some issues with an Ionic app. So we're rescheduling him joining me. But for now, he is just going to tune in from bed and maybe fall asleep partway through it, hopefully not on his keyboard. So if you tuned in last time, you will notice we did quite a lot of work around, registering and creating. We started creating this core package. Let me zoom in so it's a bit easier. I'll tell you what, I'm going to hide my face so you can just focus on the code and the things I show you right now. So the core ERP package it's a module manager. The idea of what we want to do here, we want to create almost like a module manager plugin system for Laravel, so that we can take any Laravel application, add this package, and we can start bolting this functionality into it. Yep. If you know how to fix Ionic storage issues, please let Haz know. But yeah, what we're going to do, we're going to pick up where we left off. We started with our standard install action, which we got quite a lot done, actually. We did a lot more than what we thought we would do. And our next stage is, let's look at enabling one of these modules. And then once we've enabled a module, we're going to start looking at, okay, so let's start looking at building out a module. Let's see, what do we want to do? How do we want it to work, basically? So, where to start? Enabling. So if we come to our code here, if we go to our commands, we've got an install module command. What we just need to do is let's create a new one, and we're going to call this one enable module command. And what it needs is, let's zoom in, wrong editor. We're going to extend our illuminate command. And I believe this needs a handle function. No. What does it need? Yeah, no, it needs a handle. It needs this sort of thing. Zip. There we go. So module enable. So enable an installed ERP module. Module enable module. The name of the module you want to enable. Nice and simple. And down here, what we're going to do is going to return command. Yes. That is the start of it. Hey Joe, thanks for joining. So the first thing we're going to want to do is, that isn't needed up there. Clean that up. The first thing we want to do is, obviously, that is the module that we want to get. We want to make sure we've got that installed. So what we did before is we split a lot of these things out into actions, because we're going to want to not just do them through the CLI, but we're also going to want to do this through UI as well, enable some of this through the UI. So we'll create another action, and this one is going to be called check module is installed. And it does what it says in the tin, and that is kind of the way I'm doing the naming at the moment. And all we want for this is a public static function. Handle, oh God, typing's gone off the rails today. Handle, we don't want to return anything from this. This function, all it will do is it will just kind of throw an exception if it doesn't exist. We'll just call that module. So we've got a module model. So all we need to do is return module where first, so where the name is module. So like an exists. I'd look at that. Let's do a count. We don't want to return that. So module where count. What's that going to return? That should be an int, really, shouldn't it? So if we come to here, that's going to extend the model. Has attributes, has relationships, forwards calls. It's probably going to be like forwards calls, isn't it? With count, load count, load morph counts. What can we do? We want to check that it exists. That's what we do on the front end, usually. I'm assuming that's somewhere. We'll worry about that part in a bit, the how we're returning it, I think. So enable. So first thing we want to do is installed. Okay, we'll just do first. And we are going to return null or an eloquent model at this point. And then what this would be installed is check module is installed, handle class, and the module is going to be, if we, this argument, grab that from there. There we go. So this is to say, okay, is this installed? So if it's not installed, or if that should be returning null, right? So if is null installed, so if it's not installed, what we want to do, artisan call, we want to kind of trigger this to be ran, right? We want to say, okay, you should be, let's install that instead. So maybe we'll look at, asking a question here. But if we do have it, we can just say installed. We can go over to that, and we've got this enabled. We can just say enable. We're going to create a quick helper method on here for now, just to say enable. So this autofill enabled true, and save it. Don't need to do anything there. Don't need to return anything. So we've enabled it. Installed. It's going to enable what's been installed. Installed module. We'll give it some more descriptive names, because why not? And then that's it. That's all we need to do for this. Return that there. So what we need at this point, we need to look at asking questions in the laravel command, and I'm pretty sure There is some good docs on this. Let's zoom in so we can see this nicely. Generating commands. Let's just search for like question, something for input. Okay, so name. So at this point, we can do something like question is going to be, you haven't installed module. Would you like to install it? So what I'm going to do, because I'm going to need this a few times, let's just come down here. That, which means we can swap this over for module. Module, would you like to install it? So install. Can we give options? Confirmation should return true by default by passing true as a second. If you need to ask the user for something yes or no. Okay, so we want a confirm, not a question. This confirm, which gives us a default answer of true. Fine, we can live with that. And then what we can do is, if they do want to, we can, if that is true, then we can say artisan call, and the command we want to call is module install, parameters of for the name. And that's what we'll do, we'll wrap that in a try catch anything that is throwable at this stage as an exception. And what we'll do, we will just throw exception. So that's it. That's all we need to do for that. So if I walk through this, so it's clear for people. When we're handling this command, all we're doing is saying, okay, so pull out the argument for module. We'll set it to this variable because we need it a couple of times. Check to see if it's installed. If it's not installed, so if it's coming back as null, then we need to say, okay, you haven't installed this module yet. Would you like to install it? Yes or no? If they've said yes, then we're going to try to call artisan and say, okay, so module install this and catch any exception. And after that, if they have got it, then what we can do, if we're not throwing an exception, is we can rerun this. Call the module install, and maybe we just recall ourselves. That could probably work within the same block. Module enable with the parameters of module. Kind of makes sense. There might be a nicer way to do this, and if anyone's got ideas, please speak up. I'd love to hear them. I don't know absolutely everything, and I'm not pretending to. But what I'd like to do here is, once that's finished running, I should have that installed. That should be stored in the database, which means I can recall myself and enable it. We should get through this stage and away we go. Yeah, that should be it. Then we're just going to return command this. That should, in theory, throw return command failed, I'd assume. But what we can do, let's let's see what we've got. Open recent Laravel. Open that in a new window. I'm pretty sure I've installed this. Have I got it installed? Database up. Yep, it's all up. Cool. So if I now come here and go git add git commit -m testing enabling push. If I push this up to git now, I should in theory be able to test it over here. So let's zoom in. Let's just do a quick composer update and let's see if our package appears in here. Here we go. ERP is installed. So if I PHP artisan, see where our modules are. We've got module install available. Install a new ERP module. So what we didn't do is in our service provider, we need to register this new command. We also have, okay, so register that command. We'll do it. And we've also got enable module command. And that again. Adding enable command to service provider. While that's pushing up, I actually got an issue the day after. My host person saying we can't install it yet, and that was thanks for trying to use my package. Still a little early, but I appreciate trying. So thank you, whoever that might have been. Let's composer update again. Here we go, pulling that back. And now if we run the artisan, we should get module enable an installed module. So if I now run, let's just say, I don't know, haven't it installed, would you like to install it? Yes. And it fails. So why it's failing is, must be of type of, okay. So good job for testing. This is the most testing we're doing at the moment. So what we're going to be doing is, I have got Luke Downing joining me next week to help us run through testing this. We're going to be using pest PHP to do all the testing. So we're leaning off the tests for now, but I'm doing a little bit of testing around just installing it as in a local project, which I've just pulled in, and away we go. So if I just do a quick composer update, there we go. Let's do that again. Ooh, not enough arguments, missing module. Okay, so do I need to like tag this with module like this? It depends. So it's a very good question, Joe. I'll pop it up on the screen. Do I prefer writing tests during the feature implementation or after? It really does depend on what I'm doing. How scoped out is what I'm doing? Is it fully scoped out? Do I know all of the details? Or is it kind of, am I kind of exploring as I go? If I'm exploring as I go, then I can't really write tests before I've done any implementation because I don't really know what I want to do yet. We've got a different error, which is 404, no packages here. Perfect. That is coming back from the API. So if we try a different one, so let's try one that we know definitely exists. that is going to give us a module Laravel is not a supported Laravel ERP package. Perfect. That is the exact behavior I wanted. That works. So now that we can enable, we need to be able to test this part next, the install and enable again. So what we need at this point is, actually, wait a minute, 2 seconds. We shouldn't need that, because we shouldn't add that there. We should be able to install it, because by installing it, we're skipping needing this step. We should just be able to get that back. Just call that again and just make sure it's installed, which means that we don't have to do the entire process again. But again, we'll test that later on. So now that part's done, we've got things like, let's come back to our plan. We've got like a disable action, which is basically all it's going to do is disable a module in the database. We'll do that one quickly because it's not going to take us too long at all. So come here, we'll create a disable module command. This is going to extend a command from Illuminate. Why am I not testing? Because I'm waiting for Luke Downing to do the testing with me. I would usually write the tests. I'm not gonna lie, I would usually write the test at this stage, but because I'm using Pest and because I've not done package testing in Pest yet, I'm waiting for someone to walk me through it. I'm really honest. So disable an installed ERP module. And what we'll do this time is we'll check module is installed. Again, exactly the same as what we just did. So if this part is null, sorry, let me zoom in. So if we haven't got an installed module on the disabled one, we're just going to say this warn string is module module has not been installed. And if it has been installed, then we are going to, okay, so here we're going to return command failure, failing to do what we intended there. Otherwise, we are going to say installed module disable, and then we'll just return command success. Should be all we need. So come back over to the model over here. We're going to just add another one down here, which is very similar, and we're just going to set a disabled. We're going to set that to false. And this is just going to be the disabling of a module. Easiest way to do that, I think. Am I going to have a separate command to scaffold the necessary files to create a module? Or is it going to be a separate repo with everything required? Pest, too hip for me. Yeah, I'm way too hip for you, Oliver. No, Pest is great. I love Pest. But Joe's question, am I going to have a separate command to scaffold the necessary files to create a module? No. What I am going to have is a skeleton repo, which you'll be able to pull in to have a kind of almost ready to go module for you, where things much like the Sparsy skeleton Laravel package, if you've seen that. Sparsy skeleton Laravel. So it's going to be much like this. It's a template, so you can just use this template, but it's got, the database, it's got the views, it's got tests, config, commands, a facade. It will have everything pre-built ready for you, so you can just kind of rock and roll and away you go. That is the plan. So we won't have a command for it because the modules are just packages that you're just pulling into your Laravel application. And the benefit is it can be used as both as an ERP module, but you can also integrate with it because it is a Laravel package. It's not kind of isolated. It's as isolated as you need it to be. So return, cool. All of that is good. That's disabled. Perfect. So in theory, disabled is done. Enable action. I'd say it's done, but we're going to test it more effectively. Will it be able to run Crisis? What? Oh, the video game. No, it won't be able to run a video game. What are you on about, Oliver? So the install action. We are accepting a string variable for a vendor package, which will then spawn a Symfony process. We've done that. Then we're installing it. Each installable module should have a specific class. All of that's fine. That bit's done. The install process is now complete. Yeah, I'm not a gamer, Ollie, so I'm not sure I get that one. Unfortunately, the most gaming I do is on Forza. So the core package is mostly done, but I'm not going to mark this as done yet until we've started our next package. So what we're going to do, we're just going to come over to here. We're going to say, right, we want to use this template. We're going to create a new one, laravel-erp CRM. A laravel-erp module providing CRM functionality. And for this, I'm just using the sparsely skeleton package because it's going to have everything I need straight away. Right, while that's being created, we're going to need some other things for the ERP system. We're going to need... I started using Basecamp again because I noticed I had an account. I thought I'd give it a go for a little bit, see how I get on. It's okay. It's easy to use. It's not as flexible as Notion, so it's not quite perfect for everything, but for simple things like remember to do this, I'm finding it quite useful. So we're going to assign this one to me. I'm going to add that one. So the ERP system is going to have its own published views, much like Horizon does. If you've not used Horizon before, it looks like this. It's going to be relatively similar sort of thing. It's going to be built with Tailwind and Livewire most likely, and it will just auto-populate some labels down here for the modules that you've got installed, and then this part here will be, where you're interacting with that module, which is being pulled from the module itself. From the base package, it'll have one up here, which will allow you to kind of manage your modules. But that's a while off. Obviously, you can follow it all on this repo. I'm going to drop that link in. Feel free to follow along on this repo. We've got discussions enabled. Feel free to ask questions in here, create issues, and I have set up a project, and I've set a milestone of the 9th of September. So a good few weeks away to create a beta release to start testing. So we've got a plan. We've got a direction we want to go. So here's a CRM. let's have a look at this and let's just start building out this. So let me go to GitHub, let's go to me, and let's just clone this. That'll take a moment, and that is done, which means I can now create a new project from existing files. This is where it probably won't see it because it never does first time. Ah, it did. Perfect. Thank you very much. New window, straight in, and away we go. So if you've not used this repo before, it is quite easy to get started with. All you need to do to get started is, let's ignore some of that to start with. All you need to get started is run that. So I'm going to go ahead and go through this install process with you. So let's come here. Let's just configure a skeleton. Yep, that's me. Yep. Yep. Yep, that's me. That's a package name. Class name is, we just call it CRM. Package description. Grab that. Yep, go for it. Yep, install stuff and get things going. Lots of magic going on. Yep, do that. Cool. Done. That is my package bootstrapped. There's always cleanup, unfortunately, when you do these sorts of things. So what I need to do now is come over to Composer.json, make sure that things are lining up when it comes to namespacing. Is the one thing that isn't working. Yeah, I understand. That's fine. So that. So we don't want the namespace to be just CRM. We want it to be Laravel ERP CRM. That is going to be the namespace of this package. So let's just grab that one and let's just replace some of these. That's how we're going to do that. And then we're going to have that there. We're not going to worry about facade because I don't use them usually. So I can straight away delete that. So what else do I need to do? So here's the extra bit down there. So if we come back to our commands for installing, what are we looking to do? Validate module name. Does this exist, basically? And does it have Laravel ERP registered in the extra? That is key for this working. So here's our ERP, and what it's going to have in there is something in a little while. Let's go back. Install Composer package. That's just going to install it. Sync module with storage. So what we're going to do is we're going to look for an installer. So the installer class. And this is just going to be a path to a string, which is, it's going to be something relatively similar to this. I'll do that for now. We'll swap that over. But what this is going to do is let's just install all of those, make sure it's aware of it. What this is going to do is when we install, this is going to be what's used by our installer script. Don't mention storage. Oh, sorry, sore topic. What it's going to do, we're going to look within here first while we're checking against the API from Packagist, and we say, okay, do we have Laravel ERP within our extra part? If yes, then great. The chance is it's an ERP module. Let's move on. Then when we come to actually install it, that's when we care about this. If they haven't added this bit, then they've passed the initial phase. They've just forgot this bit, or this bit isn't working as it should do. So it's a good way to follow through on testing how it's going to work. So we will need to create an install class soon. Right now, not as important. We're going to delete the commands because we're not going to want commands. CRM, we don't really need that class. Let's come to here and let's say ERP CRM. We don't need that. And let's just drop that. We're going to need some migrations, but right now I'm not going to worry. Resources, we will have views. Config, we're definitely probably going to have some config going on. We might have some factories and stuff. So let's come back to the README and let's clean some of this up. So don't worry about some of this. So let's delete that. And this next part is just short, sweet. Away we go. Supporters, how you install it, publish migrations and config, usage. We're going to delete the usage because we're going to write our own later on. And then that's that. So that is the basic package, kind of up and running. We need to go through and make sure these are the correct namespaces. So we've got Laravel, ERP, CRM. Don't need that. Perfect, just what we want. So let's grab that namespace and make sure it's in the right places. Now tests, for example, example test. Case. Let's make sure at least these are working in tests. And then here, let's delete that and let's make sure we're importing that properly. CRM service provider, that's fine. We're going to keep a lot of this just as is. Factory guest name using just Steve King, Laravel, ERP, CRM database factories, blah, blah, blah. Away we go. So that bit's fine. That bit's fine. A lot of this is fine for what we need it to do. But what we need this package to have is it needs to compose a require Steve King, Laravel, ERP, contracts. That is a very basic one. It's not released yet. It will be released properly when we are ready. But what this does is I will go find it for you so you can see. Here's my repo, my GitHub profile, and here's our contracts. So I wrote a little bit of a README. So installer contract. This is the main one that we need right now. So our module installer has got to implement the installer contract. It will, because it uses dependency injection and it uses the Laravel container in the installer when we're trying to install this package, whatever you add into this construct method will, if possible, be resolved and injected into the installer, which means that the install method, which is a requirement, I'm going to do something I don't like doing just because it's really bugging me. Thank you. Commit those changes. Is anything that you run in here, that is part of the install process. If it fails in here, that is outside of the control of the ERP system. That is a module error. But we give you a way to add and install anything you need to. You do not need to do anything in your install script. In fact, if we go through the code quickly for the syncing, is if we don't have if it is the correct, so if we've validated that the module name, yes, it's a module. If we've installed the package and it's all working fine, when we come to syncing, we're going to create it. We're going to get the composer JSON information. We're going to store and save all of that. We're going to see if you've got an installer class. If you don't have an installer class, if you don't need to do anything specific, you do not need an installer class. If you do need an installer class, then we need to make sure it implements the right contract so that we can make it, and then we can run the install process and do everything that we need to do. But overall, this is needed, but it's not a strict requirement. So anyway, back to where we were with the CRM. So this is going to be a basic CRM. All we're going to have is like, we're going to create some models for contacts, for example. And I think I actually did start planning some of this part on Notion. So let me go check. Did I do it on Notion or did I do it somewhere else? Contacts. I did do it on Notion. I started some Notion planning. So here's a CRM domain. We've got contacts, meetings, deals, tasks, and documents. I didn't plan in detail. Not going to pretend I did. And then documents, secure document storage where you can restrict access. But contacts, I definitely started to plan some stuff. So we can start working on building this, at least the contacts, right? So let's come over and let's create a models directory. Let's create a new class for contact, and this is going to extend an eloquent model, and away we go. This is the start of something wonderful. I've been wanting to build a CRM for a while, if I'm honest. They're kind of one of those projects that are just fun to do. So let's come to our database, migrations. Okay, so create a table. We're going to rename this. Create CRM. Okay, so ERP, CRM, contacts table. So it sounds like a horrible name, I know, but there's a reason. So ERP, CRM, contacts. If I grab that, come over to the model quickly, and I'm pretty sure is it protected or public? Let's try public. There's a table. So the reason I want to make sure I name it this is if I build another CRM module, I don't want any conflicts. So you can control conflicts by doing it this way. Maybe we could do something in the install process further down the line where we look at, we could like write in the document that, this is, just Steve King, ERP, CRM contacts, something like that. But that might be going too far. For now, I think something like ERP, CRM contacts is enough. No, it will run. Don't worry. I have tested this one before, Joe. It'll be fine because it's been published. So let me rename this. Let's just grab that. I'll make sure we have that. So there's our migration name. Here's our migration. So how do we want this to work? We want an ID and a UUID. So let's add in that UUID. Then we're going to want a prefix. So string prefix. We want the first name, middle name, all the usual sort of stuff that you might like. First name. Add a table string for their middle name. Let me zoom in, sorry. I just realized that it's quite a zoomed out view on the stream. So here's a middle name. We're going to want a table string for the last name. Middle name is nullable because not everybody has one. The prefix. can have a suffix, but that is, nullable. So this is where you get like a prefix could be Mr. or Mrs. or Doctor or Professor, all of those sorts of things. And then the suffix is things like MBA or PhD or, I don't know, COVID negative. It could be, any of those. They're more, the suffix is the achievement on a name, but some people, if you've earned it, you want it as part of your name because it's something that you've earned and you've worked towards. So here's the next one, which is the known as name, which again is nullable. Because it's a CRM, you're building up this knowledge of a person. Table string, we will have an email. And for this one, we're going to put unique in there because we don't want anyone else adding the same email address for a contact, because then we're going to start having clashes and issues, and it's a CRM system. We will allow adding additional emails to a contact, but that's in a little while. So the next part is we've done the email. We need the job title. What's their job title? What department are they in? Table 8. I'll add in birthday. And I think for this, when I think of how I work, how I would use CRM, I'm going to know their first name, last name, their prefix, their job title and department. Maybe not their prefix actually, because you don't want to assume sometimes. I'll know at least their first name and last name because they would have emailed or phoned or been on LinkedIn, and I'll be able to get that easily. I'll know their email, I'll know their job title, and I'll know the department they're in, or maybe not their proper department. So we might want to look at, should we look at this being a department ID? Should we be doing that sort of thing with this? But we'll come back to that. And then again, with job titles, maybe we want to go, job title ID. We maybe want to pull that out so we can kind of standardize a little bit. But again, we'll look at that in a refactoring approach. So we got all of those, department birthday. That's kind of all we need right now. We're going to be able to add more later on, but I don't think we need a massive amount. And I would like these to be soft deleted personally. I don't want contacts to be permanently deleted in case I need them later on, but I can have a cleanup operation running inside the kernel and away we go. So that is a relatively good baseline for what I'd want. So if I come back to my contact now, my fillable columns, because I'm a fillable sort of guy. Let's go, we want the UUID, we want the prefix, we want the first name, the middle name, last name, prefix first, last, middle last, suffix known, and email. So then we're going to want suffix, their known as name, and we're going to want their email. Then we're going to want their job, department, and birthday. So job title, their department, and their birthday. And we're going to want this to be use soft deletes. Now, a lot of us models in here are going to have UUIDs. So what I typically do in this situation is I create a new directory or a new namespace called concerns to follow the Laravel pattern. And within here, I create a new trait, and we call this as UUID. We declare our strict types. Then we have a public static function boot has UUID. Let me zoom in so you can see this process. So for now, I'm just going to save that and we're going to add that onto here. Use has UUID. There we go. And what this does is while we're static creating, callback that we want is we want a function which is going to get a model. And on that model, we want to set the UUID to be Ramsey's UUID. Actually, do we use a Ramsey one? Because I know that that's got, okay, that's just a shortcut to it. So perfect. We'll just do that. We'll say to string. Done. Callback. Done. That's what we want. We want to say, okay, so the model UUID, we want it to be, a new UUID, basically. Nothing fancy, nothing crazy, just please set this as a UUID, and that is all we want. So what will happen is when you're creating this contact, what the Eloquent model will do is it will load any of the traits, and if any of the traits has a boot method, has a static method with boot followed by the name of the trait, it will run it, it'll preload it, and it'll say, okay, so here's an event it needs to listen for the creating event, and away you go. No, I'm not using an IDE helper. I probably should do. It would make my life easier, but I'm not at the moment. What we'll also do here is we're going to add notifiable. Because it's got an email, we want to be able to contact or notify our contacts, right? So there we go. That has been added. There's a trait. Here's a database table. What else do we want to do? We're going to want a company. So what can we do with a company? So the way I'm going to use, you could use set attribute to get rid of that annoying warning. I could do that one there, yeah. No, to be honest, I'm probably going to install a helper at some point, so I'm not going to worry about changing my code to get around an IDE warning. So next step, we've got a contact. We're going to want another migration now. So let's create a new file, and we're going to say create ERP CRM companies table.php.stub. So we're going to want something relatively similar to this within here. And we're going to want to create a new table called companies. So let's just drop all of that for now. Yeah, I am debating about pulling in an IDE helper. It'll make my life a lot easier. So there's that. What we can do, drop that off, and we can say, okay, so it has migration. We want it to load the company first. And the migration file name is going to be create ERP CRM companies table. Let's grab that and let's just do the same thing here. I like named arguments. There we go. So we're starting to add them, which is great. Laravel idea. Yeah, I have heard that is really good. I had, I think, 5 licenses for that beginning of a year, maybe last year, that I gave away. But I didn't keep one for myself. Maybe I should have kept one and used it. Speaking of licenses, having a drink now. Speaking of licenses, if anybody needs a PHP Storm license, please let me know. I have got a spare one going. So let's go to the companies. So because this specific module is something that I'm going to use myself for my work, what I will probably end up doing is our company's house this package. I'll probably just pull in this package, this company's house package here, because I'm going to need it. Has migrations. Oh, hey, Freak. Thanks for coming. So with that, can I, by doing has migrations, ooh, I can set the file names. Sorry, that is migration file names. Perfect. So I can then just, do they load in a specific order? So can I then say, I want this one next, for example? Let's zoom out. Is that has migration file names? Why is it complaining about that? Okay, so I can't do named arguments. That's fine. I can live without named arguments if it means it works. It's fixed. Congratulations. Everyone celebrate for Has. His Ionic issue has been fixed. Okay, so I can pass those through. That works. So back to here. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to require this package, and away we go. And this requires another Sparsy package. Freak, I see why you get so many downloads. I use a lot of your packages. And I got a notification. My my Sparsy t-shirt that I ordered is on the way, which makes me extremely happy. Now, I can't actually, I think with Test Bench, I can run artisan commands, but I'm not sure. I don't know whether this package is going to work because I need to publish config. I need to publish config and pull in config and environment variables. So I might have to just kind of wing it myself, which will be more interesting. I'll get a bit more control. Yeah, you go to sleep, Has. You're in Finland. You're like 2 hours ahead of me, so it's going midnight there. So let's remove that. So I'm just going to remove that package. It's not a problem. I can get rid of that. But what I will look at quickly is what I did with this package is these DTOs. It'll give me information on a company. I can just kind of get some of this. Yeah, I knew it was almost midnight. Right, so what information do I want about a company? I don't need too much, I don't think. E-tag's not useful. The name, the number, the type. I might want insolvency history, might not. Status, definitely want to know if it's an active company, whether it's been created or not. So yeah, let's start building some of this out. So we know we're going to want company name. This is for UK-based businesses, by the way, people. So I apologize if you're not based in the UK. Unique. If you're not based in the UK, I'm sure there's APIs out there which you can use, and I would love to build an abstraction between them for an API integration because I love APIs, so it would be cool. But we'll have a look one day. So we've got the name, number, we've got the type of company. This one is nullable. Actually, no, that's not nullable. The type's always going to come back from the API. Do we care about charges? Whether the company has charges against it. I suppose it's another bit of kind of business information that's useful to know in the CRM system, right? So we're going to do a string, has charges, but we'll set it to nullable. Problem with the API on Companies House is it's not consistent. Insolvency history. Tell you what, let's have a look at the API docs. That might be easier. Companies House API. Ooh, API. Yep, that's fine. REST API. Here's all of that stuff. Developer API suite. Document, no, not document, sorry. Public data API. So when we are searching for a company, we get back a company search result, which is all of this information here. So what we are looking at is we got the company number, company status, which is a string, the company type, which could be any of these types. The description, the result description, we don't care about. The description identifier, which is basically what you matched against, the kind of search you performed, address snippets, title, nothing too useful. Nothing too useful there. So what we'll do is we will look at company profile instead. When we get a company profile, we will get a company profile resource, which gives us much more useful information here. Accounts, account reference, date, month, last accounts made up to, the type of business it might be, overdue, returns, next due, overdue, business activity, parent company name, parent company number, CAN file, company name, number, and status, status detail, confirmation statements, overdue. What we are looking for here is, that's all the accounting stuff. We are looking for, let's search. Has insolvency history, Boolean, basically. Cool. So we want a Boolean. We'll set the default to false. Maybe old benefit of a doubt sort of situation. We'll say this one has insolvency history. We may as well match that name. What else can we get? Status. Did we get that? We didn't get status yet, so we can drop that in. You know, that's a case of, is this open or not? Create when it was created, date of creation. I could just do like a date of creation within there. Table date. Oh no, timestamp. I think that will come back as. Oh, my fingers just aren't working tonight. Data creation. Or actually, I'll do that as a registered at. What I'll do, I'll make sure that's down the bottom because I like to group these sorts of similar things. If it's like a timestamp, I group it towards the end, and then this is where I put all my foreign keys. Then things like this Boolean, for example, I typically have Booleans all grouped together unless it makes sense elsewhere. And then these are string values. Yeah, I'm pretty specific about how I build some of these things, unfortunately. So the address. I'm not going to worry about the address. I'm going to do something completely different with the address. And that's everything that I think we need right now. You know, we could expand upon this later on, I think, if we really feel we need to. A lot of it is string values, their identifiers. Here's some string values which we can enter. Information to say whether it's insolvent or not. and then some timestamps towards the end. That works perfectly. So next I need to come over to my models and I need to create a company model. So let's create that one, company. This is going to extend the Eloquent model. And add that, and then we can just simplify, drop these, and we can set the public table to be ERP CRM companies because we don't want any potential clashes as before. Eventually, I'd like to look at how we can do that and what we can do to change some of this. Maybe that could be config driven. Maybe we could do something there. So next, we're going to protected fillable because I'm a fillable sort of guy. Then we know we're going to want at least one cast. So fillable. We know we want the UUID to be fillable, but while we're talking about UUIDs, let's say that we have a UUID and that we are also soft deleting these. So there we go. So there's UUID. So what else do we need? We got the name, number, or type. So name, the company number, type of number, sorry, the type of company, any charges it might have, status. Then we're going to get the has insolvency history. A global composer package to run artisan commands on package. That I think I am pretty sure that Orchestra Test Bench has something like that. I bought Freaks or Sparsy's course on package building. I've been building packages for years and years, but you never know if you could learn something new. So I bought it. And I think I remember it saying something about that, saying that you could run it. I can't remember what you can do, but you can do something like, so if I go to vendor bin test bench, CRM service provider. Okay, so let me fix that issue before I forget about that issue. That'll be just Steve King, Laravel, ERP, ERP, CRM service provider, cool. Here we go. So I can do some stuff. Model prune. Oh, I can do like make models and make my. I did not know I could do. This is so cool. This is so cool. I don't know if it works outwardly. If it'll work on if it'll make models in my source folder here. But it's cool to know, and it's definitely something I'll test at some point soon. So sorry, has some insolvency history, registered at. We're going to look at addresses in another way, and we're going to look at tax and VAT separately to the company itself as well. Because of the differences in tax, if it's UK or EU, we're going to look at how we can do that separately to the company itself. This is more kind of background information on the company so that we can attach it to a contact, basically. So what we're going to do down here is we're going to do a table. We're going to do a foreign ID for the company ID. Set it to be nullable because they might not work for a company that we've added, or a company that we can add from the UK. Actually, no, we won't. We'll enforce some stuff. Constrained, then when the company is deleted, we're not going to do anything. Cool. Right. So we've now linked the contact up to the company. That's all of that. So we can come to contact here and we can say, okay, so we also want the company ID on here. And then we're going to want to add in that relationship. So public function, company, who they work for. This is a belongs to relationship. So we can return this belongs to. And then the related model is the company. And the foreign key is company ID. As you can tell, I like quite declarative code when it comes to PHP. I like to declare, even if it's following the default, I like to declare it, because if maybe a less experienced Laravel developer came along and wasn't sure how that was connecting and they had to do something with it, or there was something wrong with a query they were trying to run, they could look at that and they understand straight away. That's the power of declaration, I suppose. And okay, so let's just add this in here. So this is a Boolean, and then the register that is a timestamp, or I believe it's dates time you've got to store it as. So this also has a relationship of contacts, because you're going to want to see contact at a company which has many. So you can say return this has many. And the related, related is a contact class, and the foreign key is going to be company ID, because you're referencing the other table basically with that has many. You're saying, okay, so what's the foreign key on the other table to relate back to me? And that's a company. So there's that. There's migrations, they've been added. Here's a companies table, and we know that that is all going to work. So back to here, links and addresses and phones and company. Okay, so we've done company. We know we've done company. Let me make sure my wife's not trying to get hold of me. No, we're looking good. We're looking good. My wife keeps challenging me to Fitbit goals on the new Fitbits we got, and because she does a school run, she gets like loads of steps, and because I'm in a wheelchair, I get very few. So she's obviously always winning. Okay, so links. Links could be a cool one. Links is definitely one of those interesting database options. So let's come to migrations, and let's create a new file, and we're going to say create ERP CRM links table.php.stub. And I just noticed a typo in one of these names. So let's refactor that and rename that ERP. So that's on the company's one. So make sure it's spelled okay here. Yep, that's fine. Perfect. So we want something like this. Excellent. So here is our links. So we don't need a UUID on this column. This is sore loser. Yeah, sore loser. Oh, I do love your wife very much. I don't want soft deletes on links. That's not that important, but we are going to want to reference the foreign ID. So we'll do a table foreign ID for the contact constrained, and then when this is deleted, if that contact is ever properly deleted, we want to cascade and delete its links. So the sort of things you'd want to store in a link, what we can do is we can have a string for the URL. We can store a string for the type of link it is. We can store a Boolean value for internal, in case it's an internal page to our application we're linking to. We're going to default this one to falso, because most chances are we won't. But also what I like to do, foreign ID for I actually haven't used that foreign ID for. I'll have a look at the docs. Maybe I'll swap to that instead of just using foreign IDs. So what we're also going to want is, I like to do it this way as well. This is nullable. So I like to get the meta information when I get links so that I can create, pull back the open graph information about a URL and just create a nicer display, basically. Pull back the favicon and makes it feel a little bit more part of the application. So we'll keep that in there. So that is everything that I'd typically get. But what I'm going to have a look at is, let's go to the Laravel docs. And let's go to the top of the page and we'll look at foreign ID 4. Is that new? How new is that? Foreign ID. It's not on the docs yet, so I won't use it. As soon as it's on the docs, I'll start looking at using that sort of thing. Geometry collection. Oh, interesting. So I've been using a lot of geometry and point values for stuff at work recently with geolocation. It's one of my pet hobbies, I suppose. Okay, so next we want to make a link. So let's go to here and let's go new class. This is a link and it's going to extend the Eloquent model. This doesn't have UUID and it doesn't have soft deletes. So we don't need to worry about any traits, but we still need to set the table because this is one of our ERM packages. So CRM links, which means I also need to come over and add this new class here, this new migration to our service provider. So now I can add that one. So we know that's going to load. So let's go back to our link. So let's start filling this information. Protected, fillable. So what have we got on the links? We have got URL type, internal, meta, and contact. URL type, internal, meta, and contact ID. We've got a couple of casts here as well. So if we go to casts now, what we know we need to do, we know that internal is a Boolean. Meta is, it's an array JSON-y sort of thing. So we can do as array object, is one of the new Laravel 8 classes that came out, I believe. And that's it. So what we can also do is we can say public function belongs to, public function contact, which belongs to, and then we can return, zoom in, return from here, and we can say that this belongs to a class, which is, so the related model is the contact class, and that the foreign key is going to be contact ID. Then we can come over to this contact and we can say that it has many links. Has many. We can say return, this has many. Related class is link. And that the foreign key is the contact ID on that links table. There we go. That is connected. Here's the links, contact, here's our links. I don't think we need to do anything else on this really. Meta, That we'll have a look at how we're going to do a little bit later on. Oh, it's an undocumented one. Okay. I'd definitely love to see how that foreign ID 4 works. If anyone's got any information or can share a link, please drop it in. I would love to have a quick look at that. So there's our link. We know that a contact can have links. It can have belong to a company. And this is how I like to plan my models, by the way. It's quite a fun way to do it. So, I say this is a model name. Here are the attributes I want to store by default. Here are the relationships I want to have and what type they are. I find it's a really good way to kind of get some of the ideas out of my head of how I want some of it to start forming. So here we go. A company can have many phone numbers. A contact can have many phone numbers or many addresses. I think I will leave the phones and addresses for another day. I'm keen to crack on a little bit because we've been streaming now for 1 hour and 21 minutes, and we'll make sure we can test pulling this package in somewhere into our ERP system as well. So this is a database stuff. So what I will do is I'm not going to worry about writing any documentation or anything around it right now. So we are going to get this ready for Git. We're just going to whip it because it's all a work in progress right now. Cool. I want to make sure we test trying to get this in. Here's our CRM. CRM functionality. It doesn't do much. I'll probably quickly tidy up the README for those two parts. Here's our README. Okay, so that needs to be the correct namespace. Then we are going into laravel-erp CRM service provider. And we'll keep that naming the same. Laravel-erp CRM config. Because one of the biggest benefits of doing it this way is we've got a nice module system for Laravel, but also we've got the power of Laravel packages at the same time. So we've got access to the container straight away when it's being installed. We can register things as applications being booted for our modules that we might need to run. We can, we can bind things into the container to make our module code a little bit more performant. But then because it's a module system with the install command, we're able to kind of go that little bit further as well. We're making our installer class, which means, if we're requiring things or doing things, we can start building out some of this straight away. And it's quite nice, if I'm honest. I do quite like how this is turning out. So back to this. CRM, that's fine, cool. Let me push this again. Commit, and all we're doing here is fixing namespace in README. So push that one up quickly. All right, Git. What's it complaining about? Complaining about something. Let's just push it all back up again. There we go. I don't know what happened. Maybe I've got actions running in the background for SARM and all sorts. I completely forgot about those. So I've had some style fixes going on in the application, which is fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to just create a kind of maybe not create a release yet. We're going to create a new package. And we're going to submit a new one. Yep, ERP CRM. Let's submit that. Wait for that to do its business. But while we're doing that, let's go look at my packages. If you ever need a package for anything, come and have a look at my packages. I haven't got anywhere near as much as Sparsely, but I've got some pretty interesting ones. That one's in process. I've got, postcodes, API documentation, working with APIs, another API stuff. That's my oldest package right there. Some PHP Fox stuff, Suitcase PHP. This is a really simple SDK builder for PHP. And all you do is it works with arrays. It's super simple. You can say, okay, add this endpoint, add a resource called posts. This is going to be the endpoint. That's the base URL. And we're going to allow get, find, create, update, delete requests on this. And then you can just start making requests. It's something I did a long time ago. But it's, well, okay, not that long ago, back in 2020, but it still works. It still works quite well. Okay, so I'm going to have to refresh the GitHub. I seem to have to do this all the time at the minute. I don't know why. Trigger a manual account sync, so we'll just wait for that to do its business. What else have I got? I've got a couple that have been removed because they're not supported anymore. Stats.com API. Yeah, got loads of cool little packages if you ever fancy seeing what you can use. Right, let's check this. Perfect. So this package. Let us go back to here. That is our CRM. This is all of that. PHP artisan module enable. Let's see what happens when I do this. Yes. Okay, so it's not supported laravel-erp package. Okay, so let's go back and install. Let's see what's going wrong along this process. Install. So the extra laravel-erp doesn't exist apparently. Okay, so the endpoint we are hitting for this, so that we can make sure we get it, is there's the default information, vendor module. The action for validate module name is this. So let's go to the API endpoint ourselves and let's see what it is looking at. And let's make sure this works the way we want it to. Okay, so, okay, maybe it's probably because it hasn't got any information yet. It might be a little bit early. Or is it because there's no release? It could be because there's no release. So let's create a beta release. We'll create a 0.0.1 beta release, or okay, this is an alpha release, really, isn't it? Specify repo, publish. This is a pre-release. Go. Excellent. So if I now come back to here, got 0.0.1. Don't know whether that's being cached or something we got to wait for. Let's go look at the packages API. Can you specify the repo and compose a JSON? I could do it that way, but I want to go through the install process. The idea is I want an install process. Vendor type compose a plugin, search, open link in a new tab, and the query is okay. It's not found yet. That's fine. Packages search, repo packagist, working using the API. That's getting all of that information. Metadata changes since, statistics, security advisories for packages. So basically, I think all that's happened is we're not being found on the API yet because it's we've only just published this package. I think that's the main for tagged releases, for dev releases. Okay. So we could have a look at the dev release, see if it's showing up. There we go. And if I drop the dev, it now shows. So this should now a little bit further at least. Non-static method, install composer package handle cannot be called statically. laravel-erp actions install composer package. Okay, so that means something over here. Okay, static function handle. So that means I need to go git add, git commit, fixing static method call, push that one up. Which means I can now come back to here and we can just do a composer update. This is how we're doing testing until next week, by the way, everyone. Ooh, so we got a bit further. So let's have a look. File get contents, enabled true name, blah, blah. Failed to open stream, no such. Okay. So that part, okay. I see what's going on. So where we are syncing with this part here, we've got the module. We want to get the module name. Add git commit fix issue in installer script. That, and we can come back over here and we can do another composer update. Update that again. Now let's see if it gets any further. One step further, illegal offset type. Okay, so get version, installed versions, sync module with storage, line 32. Line 32, get versions. So the version is having issues. Okay. So this point, this is where we're getting the version of the package. This is coming from Composer, and get versions object that. Is there any extra things that we can do on package name? It's a string. Okay, I can't check the version that way, so I might have to come back to that. I will come back to that part. Commit -m. Moving module version from setup. Like that for now, I think. We'll have a look at what we can do for that version name later. Definitely something we want to keep. Let's look at updating again. And we got a step further. Does not implement installer contract, so it cannot be installed. So technically at this stage it kind of is installed. So what we need our installer script. Module name while checking version. Oh, do you think so? Do you think it could be as simple as that? I thought you might be right there, you know. Let's keep it at that. So git add, git commit. Adding version back because I was silly. Let's push that up. Right, so what were we on? CRM. Okay, so we need to create an installer for this. And what we're going to do is create a new class here called module installer. It's going to implement the installer contract. Add that. Simplify. And all we're going to do right now is log info, where the message is installing module, just Steve King, Laravel, ERP, CRM. Don't need any context. There we go. So then what we want is in our composer JSON, we want this to be the module installer. So now I can git add, git commit thing installer, push. So that bit's all done, that bit's all done. So what I need is, let's update this again. I think at this stage, so let's go to table plus a second, localhost, and let's go down to probably Laravel at this point. So if I come over here, if you can see this nicely, you can see we've actually got a module installed already. This module has been installed. We've got a URL for it. We've got stuff for it. It's just hasn't got the version. It hasn't got a few things. So what I'm going to do is migrate fresh. We want to make sure that we're following this through. So what we also need to do is come back to here, and we're going to create another release because we need to release another one. And we're going to do 0.0.2 alpha release 2. And then, yes, this is a pre-release. So now when we come over to here, we should be able to install. Done. That module should be installed and enabled at this stage. Version 0.0.2.0. Got all of the information that we're going to need. It hasn't got a pretty name. That's fine. So our ERP now knows about it. So now we can do, actually, is it enabled? It is enabled by default. So what we can probably do is PHP artisan. Let's try a module disable, see if that works. Ooh. Okay, so ERP, let's come over to here and let's make sure that disable module command added. Add git commit, adding this disable command to service provider. Let's push that. So if we just do another composer update over here, disabled, and it's been disabled. So now we can test the enable again, the enable script, because we've done that. Watch that, and it's been enabled. Nice and simple. How am I planning to streamline testing? I'm actually leaving that down to Luke when he joins me on Tuesday, because we're going to be using Pest PHP. I've not used Pest for testing Laravel packages. I'm definitely going to leave it for him. Definitely. Okay, so one thing that I noticed that we need to do straight away is in our install command, we need to publish our migrations. So if we come back to here and we come to our installer, our module installer, here what we can do is we can do an artisan call. We can do the command we want to run is going to be, we go back to some docs for any of these. We basically want to run vendor publish this. We basically just want to publish the migrations and publish the config. So we can just say, okay, let's run this. Don't want to migrate. We want to leave the migrating up to them when they are ready. So call parameters. So we want to call that, and then the parameters is an array. So let's set those up. Let's zoom in so we get a good view on this. So the provider is that. The tag is this. Let's see if this all works as expected. I'm kind of hoping it does, because if it doesn't, I have no idea where to start looking. If I'm completely honest, I'm starting to get a little bit out of my depth with certain parts of Laravel, I think. Maybe I need to get Freak to jump on a stream with me sometime, because he seems to be the master of this sort of thing. So first off, we're going to call vendor publish on the migrations. And then we're going to call vendor publish on the config. Because if we've got config available, we want it to, how about adding a path repository in the composer instead of doing the, yeah, no problem there, Samuel. That's a good idea. I probably will do off stream, make it a little bit easier. Doing those sorts of things on stream, it takes a bit of time. I don't want to waste too much time with things I maybe could have done to be more organized. Right, so there's my install script. Here's a CRM. So let's git add, git commit, building up the install script to publish migrations and config push. What we're going to want with this is company's house. Don't want that. Don't want any of that right now. Here is our ERP. Let's just create a new tag. New tag for 0.0.3, 0.0.3. And what we probably want to do is we probably want to have an update command, right? So we'll have a look at that as well. Alpha release 3, pre-release publish. So now if we come back to here, let's do a PHP artisan migrate fresh. So what we want now is a PHP artisan module install. Could you log the information of the files being published? Yeah, I'm going to look at the terminal output next, I think. I want to make sure things work. Fail to install. Force fill enabled. Why are we failing? Install module command line 29. Fail to install. we'll start with sync module storage line 78. So line 78, I'm assuming that's part of this. I'm assuming it is part of the install process. So install module line 29. 29 is, it's failing here. Let's try it again. No, okay, it's like that, isn't it? Cool. So we call application, command, bound methods, install module. So we're hitting the install command, then we're hitting the sync module, and then we're failing sync module force fill. It looks like we're failing at this stage, line 78, where we are disabling it. So here, module. So what we'll do is we'll try to do that. But we won't worry too much. We'll just catch a throwable. We're not going to worry too much at this stage. We'll worry about some of that in testing. I'm just going to have to do some whip commits quickly. So now we can just come over to here again and we can do a composer update, which will pull it down, PHP, artisan module install. So this is where we're getting further down the line. Failed to install. So why is it failing to install? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Install module. I think it is something to do with 66. Failed to install. So it's here. This is where it's failing. It is failing at this install process. So maybe in our module, we need to wrap these in a try catch. Perhaps. Try to publish, catch any throwable exceptions. And what we'll do is we will just throw the exception, and we're going to do something kind of similar on the next one. This again, we will just try and catch. So we can figure that one out, and then we'll just log that. Yeah, it was installing correctly before adding the artisan call. So I'm not sure if there's something wrong with the way that we're calling these, which is why I'm doing it a try and catch for now. So I can now quickly do a whip push on the CRM module, and I can then release a new version, which should allow me to get more information from the debugging. So 0.0.4 alpha release 4. This is a pre-release, which means now we can come back to here, composer update. Should install things. So now we can PHP artisan module install. We'll drop the verbose parts to it for now. So failing to install. Let's add some verbosity to it. It is the artisan command. It's because we're trying to call an artisan command. So I don't know what we can do with that right now. I don't know how we're going to be able to publish some of these by default. Perhaps it's something we can Google. Automatically publish migrations in Laravel package. Ooh, Stack Overflow. I don't use you very often, do I? Okay. Manually copying them, perhaps. Okay. What I could do is, instead of an artisan call, let's try a new process, Symfony process, and that process must run. So this process is going to be very similar to what we've got with the install composer over here. We can get a new executable finder. Not that. Cancel that. The first part is a new executable finder. And what we're going to look for is PHP. So let's drop that in there. So here's the first part. We're going to get the finder. We're going to say PHP. Then we're going to say artisan. Vendor, publish, provider. This is where we just want to grab this part. So let's start with just the migrations. Vendor publish, let's just do that. Then run. And we're going to say must run. What that will do, it will try and find PHP. It will manually hit it itself instead of using the artisan facade, which might be causing issues. To shore that up, that means we need to make one more alpha release, hopefully not too many more. Alpha release 5, pre-release. So now we can come back to here. Don't know why it's complaining about some of these. PHP, why is it PHP 7.3? Navigate to composer.json. Let's drop that. Save that. Sync module with storage. So now let's try it. Is it gonna? Oh, come on, what's going wrong? Oh, bound method. We're doing some stuff, syncing stuff. Okay, we're failing to install, but it's not giving me a lot of information. Failed to install. Something went wrong there. I do apologize. StreamYard just told me to go away, and please let me know if you can hear me. I am still here. So I'm not sure what's going wrong here. I think we may have to wait for some of this to work properly until we can write some tests and check things. I think for now, I think what we're going to have to do is maybe just not do anything here, but they're going to have to do it differently for now. Git commit minus m. We're just going to whip it. Yeah, because I can't quite figure that out. I think we're going to need some sort of module installer. There's a conflict. Let's delete you. Make sure we've deleted everything that we don't need. That a DD inside, try and catch. Yeah, that's what I was actually, Joe, that's literally what I was just thinking. Publishing the file from the parent installer. It might be something that we have to do in the service provider here. I don't know whether Freak could tell us anything about how it can auto do anything. Can we like say package publish, or have they got any methods on it that will allow us to do stuff? So because it has config, short view components, shares data, has view composers, translations, migrations, has commands, routes, base path, set base path. There's nothing we can do at this stage. But maybe it's something we're going to have to do in the... No, I don't like that. Maybe it's something we need to do in the composer file. Down in scripts, perhaps. We've got scripts, cool. So in our script, if we go to Laravel, for example, we have a composer JSON in Laravel. When they install, they've got a post-root package install. They've got this. Perhaps, let's just grab that because we're going to need to play with that a little bit. Perhaps we need to add something like this. So post dump auto load. No, we want this one. So we want to run was it vendor something or other. Let's grab those from our README. We're going to want to run vendor publish, all of that basically. Which isn't going to work straight away. So what we need to do, actually, is that going to work? That's not complaining. So cool. So we're going to want to run that one. So let's test it. So let's go git add, git commit, testing, moving, migration, publishing to composer file. This might work. I'm struggling to see how it could fail, but you never know. You never know, right? So we're on 0.0.6, alpha 6. It's a pre-release. Let's go. That's publishing. So I'm imagining, because when we're doing the post-root package install, so once this has been installed, Composer should take care of this, and it should run this command for us. And unless it's going to complain about the formatting, I don't see it going horrendously wrong. So if we just go to module install, drop the verbose part for it now, just focus on this part so you can see it. It looks like it's installed. Migrations. Reload from disk. Have I got anything new? No, I don't. It's been ignored. Okay, so there's got to be something we can do somewhere So we don't want the post create project command. Maybe there is a separate composer event, composer install events, post install command. So what we have, pre-install, post-install, post-update, pre-status, pre-archive, auto-load, root package install. So post-install. We weren't using post-install, were we? We were using post something else. Post root package, and we're not a root package. We are a post-install command. So let's try this. Last chance. If this doesn't work, we will move on, and we know it isn't working right now. It's something we need to investigate. Let's come back over to here. Let's create a 0.0.7. 7 is one of my lucky numbers, so hopefully this will work. Alpha release 7. It's an old joke between me and my wife, that one. She always asks me, if she ever asks me to guess a number, my answer is always 7, and I have no idea why. It is just something that I do. Right. What I'm going to do, I'm going to keep this down a bit so we can see these migrations go. Nothing happened. Nothing happened. Let's reload from disk. No, nothing. Absolutely nothing. Okay. This sounds like it might have to be a Laravel thing in the service provider. So if we go to packages, where's the part about building packages? Package development. Package. Don't want any other packages. Digging deeper, package development. So facade, package discovery, that bit's fine. Opting out of package discovery, service providers. Service provider would do that. So boot this publishers to config. Okay, so we can do something in the service provider, but it feels messy doing it that way, if I'm really honest. I'm pretty sure you don't want to be doing it too much, but we'll try. So let's do the public function boot. We're extending this. So what we're going to do is we're going to parent boot as well. So for this part, we're just going to parent boot because we want to make sure that everything with Sparsy package service provider still works. But once we've booted that, we're going to say we're publishing this current directory. They are down the page, aren't they? Default package configuration, roots, migrations, boot this load migrations from. Ta-da! Let's see if that works. Load migrations from current directory, which is our service provider, back a level, inside database, inside migrations, and there they are. So, bada bing, bada boom, let's hope for the best. It might just be something we have to add in documentation around creating modules. And if that's a compromise we have to make to get it to work, it's a worthwhile compromise, I think. If it's going to get us doing everything that we need. My wife is sending me TikToks. Oh, God. I really don't use TikTok. I think the last time I used it was to show my son some cars because he's quite a fan of cars. Bless his little soul. Right, so that's publishing that, which means we can come back to here and let's just copy that because we're going to do the same thing and go. Please work. I don't think it worked. I don't know why. It's added the module. Okay, let me PHP artisan, because it was already installed. Maybe it's something to do with this. Maybe it got ignored because of this part. No. Okay, that's a good idea actually. I'm not going to lie. This package registers booting package, running a console for each of these, blah blah blah, package migration files, publishers with migration, blah blah blah, has translations, publishers. So what I want it to publish automatically. That's what we want. Load migrations from. They'll automatically rerun. Okay, so I don't actually have to publish them, is what it's saying there. So if I come here and just do a PHP artisan migrate, okay, it has booting packaging package booted, but I've pushed that out to I've parent booted. I've come out of that loop, so now I'm back into the standard Laravel approach, I believe. Publishing translations, views, overriding package views, view components, commands. I might have to stop using the sparsely thing, unfortunately. I might have to have a look at jumping out of the sparsely package service provider and doing it as standard. Because I think that might be one thing getting in the way and causing issues, maybe. But I've been streaming for 2 hours, which is usually when I call it a day. So I'm going to leave it for now. It gives me time to do a little bit more research into what could be causing this issue. But so far, we have got our CRM module, which is allowing us to register modules, enable modules, disable modules. That is all working. We might not be, yes, Statamic. That might be a good idea, Joe. Statamic, that's a very good idea. Let's look at Statamic next time. But we can install a module, we can enable a module, and we can disable a module. I haven't added the delete module, but we'll look at that. Migration has been run on table plus. Definitely not been run. There's no ERM contacts or anything in there, and there's no tables available. Something we can look at next time. Something to look at, definitely. But we've got our commands, we've got our actions. All of this is working. Our ERP CRM module is now up on GitHub, so I'll share that link. Feel free to have a look. If you can find a way to fix it before the next stream and you want to submit a PR, please feel free. I'm not going to complain if someone else wants to give this a go. But our CRM is basically just a really nice way for us to handle contacts, handle companies, and then we're going to start adding in things like adding tasks so that we know we need to contact a person at a company, and it can start logging interactions and start building up a sales pipeline, and we start doing some interesting stuff. So we've got that. Here's our contracts. These are all working. Here's ERP. This is working as so far. It is all up in GitHub. Feel free to have a look. But we will catch you on Tuesday next week. And thank you for coming and keeping me company. Have a good evening, everyone. I will see you on Tuesday.